Melee is an ever-changing game with our own sort of DLC, and I wanted to show you guys how the tier list has changed since we did our first one a few years back. So without further ado, here is the 2025 Melee tier list. You have top tier, high tier, mid-high tier, Ganon tier, low tier, and bottom tier. Now, regardless of what you want to believe, the worst character in this game is Bowser McFarland. Bowser is the worst, and the reason Bowser is the worst is because he is big and he is stupid. He only has one or two redeeming qualities, which is a really good up B at his shield. Other than that, he is combo food. He's a floaty for some reason. He doesn't have any armor. His recovery, while it can be sort of tricky, doesn't really give him much live at all. His kit is terrible. His frame data awful. His range subpar. He's got a really strong up air that comes out on frame like 2 billion. He has the best light attack in the game. You know, his fair is decent, I guess. But in a game as fast as Melee, he lacks almost everything that you would need to be a contender in said game. He shares a tier with the next worst character, which I suppose would be Kirby. And Kirby, while slightly better than Bowser, still is poop. Only redeeming qualities Kirby has, apart from a funny suck and cuck off the stage, which can serve as gimps for lower level players, would be a decent up tilt, a decent forward tilt, a pretty damn good back air that isn't as big as Puff, but kind of out prioritizes it. It comes out pretty fast, and a pretty strong up air. But the horizontal mobility of this character leaves Kirby lacking in almost every regard. Absolute terrible recovery that can get completely neutralized by your average top tier. For that reason, Kirby just withstand anything. Also extremely lightweight. He can turn into a pancake, which is kind of nice. And two of his grabs don't even work. He has no combos off of any throw or grab. Kind of hilarious in a game like Melee, where it kind of really is all about grabbing. And why would you play Kirby when Puff is right there? This character's ass, but I do think those are the only two characters that are in bottom tier. So kind of similar to Ultimate that has kind of Ganondorf and Mac in bottom tier. Melee, I think only realistically has two characters truly in the bottom tier, which might be different from last time. The reason I say that is because, I don't know, all the low tiers are getting their own little kind of mini renaissance, which is kind of cool. The worst of the low tiers and I guess best of the bottom tiers in this case is probably Pichu anyway. Pichu has speed. Pichu has the ability to schmix on people. Combo potential, a randomly strong up smash, a forward smash that's really strong but you can get out of it. Decent projectile, hurts themselves, which is really stupid. Recovery that's decent but worse than Pikachu's, but has a really good neutral air, multi-hit back air, strange little set of tilts which has like no range at all, but also the lightest character in the game or tied for it, whatever it is. Small, but at a price. Pichu, if Pichu was tweaked a bit, could be actually like a top tier character. And actually, Vanilla Ultimate, right? Vanilla Ultimate had Pichu as a top 5 character. They over tweaked it. And anyways, long story short, there's no reason really to play Pichu when Pikachu is right there. Commonly considered the joke character of the game, but these three in the bottom, in kind of whatever order really is valid for most lists, but I put Pichu in a tier above Kirby and Bowser. Right next to Pichu in this bottom tier, I suppose I would have Ness, but even Ness lately I've had more faith in. It would be in some order, Ness, Zelda, Mewtwo, Game & Watch. I actually do not think Zelda is worse than Ness. Zelda, oddly enough, and I think, as I say this just recently, Jmook is fresh off of a run at Fight Pit where he beat 5 top 50 Foxes solo Zelda. Which, granted, I know it's just one matchup, but I do think this character, with this sheer fact having one of the strongest fairs and bears in the game, a slow but long recovery, and just the ability to kind of space people out when need be, puts her in a contentious position. She's definitely a low tier character, but I also don't think she's near Pichu at all. But then again, Pichu way more speed than Zelda and the ability to juggle, so these are characters all just significantly lacking a lot of stuff. Game & Watch is definitely the best of this bunch right now. Game & Watch is close actually to being in Ganon tier, which I'll explain in a second, but his recovery holds him back, and the fact that he can't out-cancel his aerials, and the fact that his shield doesn't work, holds him back and keeps him in the low tier. But I think Game & Watch is the best low tier character, followed by Mewtwo. Mewtwo will be above Zelda, just because better recovery, double jump cancels, more options. Then Zelda, then Ness, then Pichu. Ness, again, very, very punishable recovery. I love him. He's my secondary. I was considered to be the best Ness player in the world for a bit. I'm not sure if I am, probably not, but I got him to Grandmaster. If you're watching this video in the middle of the subathon, please make sure to come to twitch.tv/Hungrybox, check it out, because we're still doing this live until Friday night, so I'll see you there. You know, he has become a matchup check. He's no longer a bottom tier character. He's just in the low tier. He is a solid matchup check. If you don't know how to fight Ness, you're probably going to get blown up, which is kind of funny. He's got some really interesting stuff. He's got a really good up air, actually one of the best up airs in the game that can juggle almost anyone. He's got a great down tilt off the ledge. He has a really good kind of disjointed dash attack and fair. His down air is a really strong spike that goes straight down. It has a bit of a delay too that you can full hop and use on people. He can shield pressure people. He has a neutral air that actually lasts longer than you would think, but again, struggles so much because his grab range is terrible. His don't have that much range, and his recovery is one of the worst in the game. A contender for worst recovery in the game. He has a good air dodge, but it's not enough to push him. And finally, in this list, I mean, Mewtwo has had his share of regional results with top players sandbagging, but you know, has some sauce definitely if you know what you're doing, and an up throw kill. And Game & Watch, just a lot of people actually have picked up this character and found relative success with him. They're realizing that Game & Watch is probably the best down tilt in the game. A really strong nair, grab setups, and juggles and chain grabs on a bunch of the fast fallers. You can't L-cancel his aerials, but his fair is insanely powerful and reaches a long way. And auto cancels on ledge. He also got good ledge cancels with his Keyblade, I guess if you want to call it, as he does it downwards. Multi-hit back air. And a jab that leads into grab, which is kind of interesting too. And even, you know, Bacon, while it seems kind of useless, has some uses off the stage. He's like getting more and more people able to commit to him. He's kind of having like a DK renaissance, where someone look at this character and they're like, huh, this character might be good, and then DK ends up being completely viable and actually better than most of the mid tiers in the game because of, once again, his recovery, and because of he's missing fundamental things in the game: recovery, shield, L canceling. But also has one of the best wave dashes in the game and a decent grab range. So don't be surprised if you see Game Watch upset more players in the future. Next, we go to our Ganondorf tier again. Ganondorf tier, I'll say this once again because I usually do this explanation for all the characters in this tier. Ganondorf, all the characters better than Ganondorf can one day win a major, and all the characters below Ganondorf cannot win a major. And I've always stipulated that he is the line of viability. And then if you ask me, well, can Ganondorf himself win a major? It's kind of like dividing by zero. I don't have an answer for you, so we're just going to leave it at that. But there's other characters that join Ganondorf in this tier, right? Some are below him, some are above him. One, for instance, is Mario. Mario is below Ganondorf, just because weirdly has some sauce on Spacies and certain matchups. And if you've played like Slippy late at night, you've noticed that some of these Marios are just really, really patient and able to kill you. But Mario is just a worse Dr. Mario in a lot of ways, so you kind of don't have to worry so much about dying to him, unless of course he lands his forward smash on you, or maybe even his cape. But yeah, I think if you're a floaty, you have kind of a really good edge on Mario. Like if you're a Puff player or a Peach player or a Sheik player or a Marth player and you're fighting a Mario, like you're just gonna decimate this character so hard. And the Spacies should also decimate him. You gotta know your stuff. Ganondorf is slower Falcon. Ganondorf to me is the closest thing to Little Mac in Ultimate in terms of a character that your character, if you play a top tier, definitely beats him on paper, but you really don't want to be in a bad position next to him where if you get hit twice, you just literally die. And then you're just kind of salty the whole time. You're like, why'd that happen? That should not happen to me. I'm angry. I want a recount. And that's kind of where you end up, right? So you don't want to be in that spot against Ganondorf. He's big and he's ugly, but he's strong, you know? And he has a chain grab on a lot of characters, more than you might think. And his fair can kill really, really early, and his back air. All his arrows kill really, really early. But he is a punching bag and significant combo food. Any player that's playing on shouldn't lose to him. Any player that's being lazy or afraid just should lose to him. That's kind of where I put Ganondorf. Also in the Ganondorf tier, I've been wondering where I would put Roy this whole time. And it's kind of weird to say, but like I think Roy is the bottom of this tier. I don't think Roy deserves to be grouped up with these other characters. No, because Game & Watch deserves to be above Roy. Okay, I think Game & Watch... Like, I'm tempted to put a tier now between Ganon tier and low tier and call it Roy tier, but that's too much. We know for a fact Roy by himself can't win a major. All right, but I could make another tier if we're being pedantic. No one stop me, right? It's Roy tier. Roy tier featuring Game & Watch. The Roy tier is characters that are definitely better than the low tiers, but definitely worse than the characters in Ganondorf tier. That is the only explanation. There's nothing else I can add, but Ganondorf tier, that's where I'm at. Because you've seen these two characters get results, even in offline tournaments. Even in majors, you've seen these two characters get results. These four down here, and these two down here are mean. Okay, I actually feel a lot better about this part of the list. Okay. Guess who else is in the Ganondorf tier? Take a guess. That's right, it's Link. It's Link. And you know what? It's also young Link. Both Links are in here. I mean, when it comes to Link, Aklo, of course, been one of the greatest examples. Was able to beat Zayn with Solo Link in multiple sets. Kind of amazing. But then when you fight as Link against a really good Falco or Fox, you just die. You get absolutely cooked. But then you'll have a Link play against SDJ and take him last hit, last stock. Because Link really is not that bad. Has one of the best nairs in the game. Really good projectiles. Tricky tether recovery. Strange bomb tether recovery. Really strong down air. Decently quick up air. Frame data that tricks people. Like his up smash, you can cancel it really quickly. Up B out of shield burst option that's kind of, very punishable but still exists. Hits you hard. You know what I mean? Hits you pretty hard. So, young Link, similar to Link, a lot faster but not nearly as strong. And I think young Link struggling to kill is what makes him actually worse. He can outcamp. He can probably reach higher heights. You need that kill power. It's the same reason Ganon is above young Link too. There's some young Link results, but not really too many to make a wave. They'll do the occasional upset here and there, similar to Mario. So to me, this is the line of viability. These characters I don't see ever winning a major in Melee's lifespan, but these characters can be pulled out as a pocket to beat a player in top 8. Does that make sense? And now we go to mid-high tier. These are all the characters that can win a major. I mean that. We're going to start with Luigi and Dr. Mario. These plumbers, I know it might not seem like it, but I do believe one day, given enough time, someone is going to no-life one of these characters and find themselves in winners finals or grand finals of a major. I do think I can see it happening, oddly enough. It just takes a lot of dedication because they have significant weaknesses that the best players in the world will exploit. Luigi, I want you to focus on Rat Monster coming up. Dr. Mario, Franz, Scorp is not really his player, but there's also other Dr. Marios online that are actually pretty decent. I would actually put Luigi above Dr. Mario right now, just because of Luigi has kind of that more jank factor that can really trip up some people. Luigi, big, best wave dash and crazy up B kills and really, really good frame data with aerials. But again, Luigi's big Achilles heel is killing him. You can edge guard him very easily if you just get one pretty good read on the side B. But even then, he has that 1 in 8 chance of making it back. Dr. Mario also, unfortunately, has one of the worst recoveries in the game, but a very high priority up B. Pills that kind of give you your descent going down and a way to delay it too. Dr. Mario's ability to kill is similar to Ganondorf's. He's like a more nimble Ganondorf. That's the way I put Dr. Mario. He can just hit you with a fair. Pills do a lot of damage. Really good back air, really good cape, really good wave dash, grab combos, chain grabs, kind of all the above. Really good tilts. He kind of is like a if you have like very good platform fighting fundamentals, Dr. Mario is usually a go-to because you'll be rewarded for your reaction time. You'll be rewarded for just knowing how to space with aerials. It'll be worth it. Luigi, a lot more cardinal. He's either going straight up or straight left and right. Whereas Dr. Mario deals in the diagonals. Pill goes down diagonally. His rising up air and rising fair are diagonal. The way he comes down with nair and a sex kick diagonal. But again, mid-high, these characters could win a major as long as people lock in. The next character on this list that could win a major in the mid-high tier will be Samus is next. Samus got very close to winning some majors. Some decently sized ones. Not huge ones, but close. But ends up getting juked by either Sheik or Falcons or Puffs. A good Samus can overwhelm a Spacey. But when it comes to like the really good characters that just have a game plan that completely outdoes what Samus can do, It shows each time. It takes like a true madman to actually do it. Like Morse code one day could do it, but we've never seen Morse code in winners finals of a major. The last time we saw a solo Samus in winners finals of a major or grands, I think it was Duck, DreamHack, or Pat's House against me, who took a set. But yeah, I think since then, there really hasn't been one that could really push that way. We've seen, of course, a lot of notable top 8s. We've seen Plup play Samus 2 and get really far. But it's up to a certain point, right? If you get to a certain point. Yeah, there was Hugs Evo 2007, exactly. But again, plumbers and whatever the argument was. In the current time, the best Samus player, Morse code, can beat Cody Schwab, can beat top players, can beat Josh Mann, but winning the major is the really hard part. And that's the reason I have this next character above Samus. And this is the highest placement this character has ever seen so far. And that's going to be DK. I actually think DK right now actually better than Samus, better than Luigi, better than Dr. Mario, better than obviously everyone here. DK is flirting with high tier if it keeps going. But right now, mid-high, top of mid-high is a great place to put him. Look no further than Junebug, who was able to actually beat Jmook at Genesis. That matchup is supposed to be like the wall, right? Like, you know, good try, you got a good cheek, got a good run. But no, not only did he beat Jmook, he then ran into me, and I was playing really hot, so I won. But had I not figured out that edge guard mid-set versus DK, I probably would have lost. But DK, seemingly against any matchup, has cheese now. And not just cheese, reliable cheese. He has ways of landing giant punch on almost any character. When it comes to the Spaceys, a good Spacey, not messing up, landing all their things, landing the pressure, should beat the DK. But one mistake and one grab, you're gonna get juggled. In fact, Junebug should have beaten Cody Schwab, as well as Jmook, at Genesis. But he mistakenly got off the ledge one frame too early and allowed Cody Schwab to come back and win in a really turbulent set, an incredibly insane set. And he missed out on top 8 as a result. But I think that was, like, if he doesn't fight me and if he grabs that edge guard on Cody, there's no telling how far he could have gone. Junebug is showing the potential of this character. And if any of you guys have fought a really good DK, it could be a Kier, could be June, could be anyone else who does it. There's one up and coming in Cali too. The grab into kill with Giant Punch just works so reliably on a lot of the casts. Even against floaties, yeah, Quang is another great one too. Even against the floaties, you always have to watch out for that up air. You always have to watch out for that seeming idea that you could die at any point. And it's just part of the reality of the game. He's just a very good character now. Even though he's big, he's got a tricky ass recovery. He's got that up B out of shield, which could completely have a high knockback. Really disjointed, a backer that beats Puff back air. And his main weakness, of course, is how big he is. I beat this character because I'm able to find easy rests as Puff, and every other character in this game, their game plan is to find that big finishing hit based upon his size, that big grab based upon his size, or they outspeed him, right? Essentially fat Jigglypuff, and you replace Rest with Giant Punch. There's actually a lot of similarities too, in terms of how they function. They're both kind of grapplers as well. And I think the other character above DK in the mid-high tier I would put is Pikachu. There's also, some could argue Pikachu's in the high tier, especially given that Axe exists and J2 exists. But I think Pikachu's weaknesses shouldn't be this kind anyway. But I think at this point, anyone who's watched Melee knows this character is blazing fast, insanely fast character, very fast recovery, wild up air. Gimps, you can get the strongest up smash in the game, I'm pretty sure, in terms of knockback. A down B that can gimp early percent floaters on up smash. A chain grab on Spaceys, a gimp ability with Spaceys with back throw. An up air that acts basically as a shine spike. Really fast tilts, really fast frame data. Just a speed demon, but of course has a flowchart recovery that you could exploit. And the fact that his grab range is really bad makes him sort of easy to bully up front. Really good out of shield options, and you have to always watch out for his really strong hits. And I really do think, similar to Rat Monster with Luigi, J2 with Pikachu, I wouldn't be surprised if I had a crystal ball and I looked 5 years into the future and these two were top 8ing every single major with characters we thought were mid-tier at one point, right? And mind you, we thought Luigi and Pikachu were low tier characters as early as like 2010, I think. Yeah, times change quickly. And with that, we go to our high tier. These high tier characters are very popular. If you don't know how to play them, you'll lose to a Bowser. The point of Melee in 2025 is that you got to know what you're doing. And this tier list represents people that know what they're doing. So in my opinion, the first character, the worst of all the remaining characters I would put is Yoshi currently. Amsa, of course, on a good day can be the best guy in the room, but the learning curve and the amount of proficiency and technicality to really make this character work in a meta this punishing is kind of batshit crazy. You really have to be on your shit to make this stuff work. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, it's just gonna be a bad time. You're gonna be in trouble, and you're not gonna you're gonna think that, oh, all the work I put in, relates to nothing. Why did I do all this? Even still, we've seen runs like Big House for Amsa and Egg Dog and other runs. He has the patience to outcamp other characters. If you're brave on the ledge with Egg Stall, you can do all sorts of things. You can crouch cancel midair, right? You have armor. You have the double jump armor, which no other character even remotely has anything similar to, which means that Yoshi as a character is fundamentally just a different species than almost anyone else in Melee. But the difficulty of the character is probably what is holding Yoshi behind from being constantly at the same level as the top tiers. But I think enough time has passed to recognize Yoshi as a high tier character. Any really good Yoshi that I've fought, it's a character that you just need to put time and practice into, both to use as and to fight against. Because it doesn't feel like you're playing Melee. It feels like you're playing Super Yoshi Bros. It's a completely different game. So just for that reason alone, he's high tier. Right above Yoshi on the current list, and it gets closer and closer here, but I do believe I'd put Ice Climbers. Ice Climbers undoubtedly are a high tier character. Now, fun fact, Zane thinks that if wobbling was legal, Ices would be here. Top 2 in the game, or even top 1. And if you talk to a lot of pro players, they actually would agree at this point. But I think something a little different. The only thing you gotta know about Ice Climbers, if they grab you, you're usually dead. For those new viewers, I had a thing called a wobble, which was an infinite, back in the day, that was incredibly controversial. Even with wobbling, Ices weren't the best character in the game. They weren't even close to the best character in the game, but they would upset top players constantly. But when you fought Mia Armada, you got absolutely Here's what happened. Because the community banned wobbling, it forced Ices to learn neutral. And because Ices had to learn neutral, the Ice Climbers players that are actually really good nowadays, Nikki being the #1 best example of this now, is not only scarier than past Ices, it's actually more difficult to fight those Ices today than the wobblers of back in the day. I know I'm probably alone in that regard because I'm a Puff player. To me, it's way scarier because they still know how to kill you now off a grab with the, I don't know if it's called knobbling or whatever it's called. It's the handoff, right? Which still basically leads to a 0 death. And last I checked, they can do it from 0%. Whereas wobbling, if I remember, you can mash out of wobbling as long as you're below 40%. So in a weird way, we might have accidentally buffed Ices by forcing them to learn how to play the game and giving them a grab tactic that might be better than wobbling in certain situations. I know it probably isn't the case, but I felt it. But again, I'm a Puff player. Also in the high tier, above Ices. I'm going to put Peach right above Ices. Peach, what more can you say about Peach? Best downshift in the game. Float cancels, jump cancels, insane frame data, insane recovery, turnips, X Factor and Stitch Faces and bombs, crazy pressure on shield, can turn you into a washing machine. It's Peach, right? She's a tank that floats in the air, and you got to respect this character, no matter who you are. Even Puff players have to respect it, and that's why Puff players often now rely on camping to beat Peach, because they know if they squabble up with Peach, pretty bad. Right above Peach in that air, also in high tier, is going to be Captain Falcon. With Wizzy being the best rep, you can see Falcon obviously can win a major, super major, has won super majors before. Just an absolute demon of a character. Crazy finishers, rewards good reads more than any other character in this game. Can fly across the stage at record time. His biggest weakness, of course, is his recovery. That is very linear. You can drift and pray, but that's about it. Outer shield options, you have to either go for a nair or an up air, or maybe even an up B. Not top anymore. It's like the more I think about it, the more I've wagered a lot with putting Falcon top or high. He's changed for me a lot. that glaring weakness of Falcon, classical weakness he has versus Fox, Falco, Marth, and even sometimes Puff is even. Those 4, because it really does matter. Think about any of these 4 characters right here versus a really good Fox or Falco. It matters. The tier list eventually catches up. So, of course, that leaves only a few characters, and this one probably shouldn't be too surprising. At the bottom of top tier, I would put Jigglypuff, and I guess if I'm the authority to say why she's at the bottom of top tier, it's because she loses to Fox in the current meta, solidly. I will always say that Fox Puff is 60-40, and it forces you to approach the game in a very abstract way. And then also Sheik Puff became a lot harder recently too. We used to think Sheik Puff was an auto win. Not anymore. All the Sheik players have shared the data with each other. Incredibly more difficult now to win as. They stopped going for the dumb grabs. They stopped making the stupid mistakes. And when all the top players stop making dumb mistakes and improvise on the flow, and Puff isn't as fast as the other characters. Improvisation for Puff often relies on going and landing, usually on reaction. Necessary to use RTCs now with Puff, increasing her difficulty, and it's necessary to know that you can die easier now than ever. And she's the lightest of these characters as well, but she can still wall out. She can still, to this day, break melee harder than any other character apart from Ice. Ices and Puff are the true game breakers. On top of that, because Puff doesn't have Nana she relies on, giant weakness following her around. And right above Puff, we're gonna put Sheik. They're very close together. I always have said that Puff and Sheik are interchangeable. The discipliner, she disciplines basically anyone in mid-high or below. Sheik just disciplines. And Yoshi, and Falcon, and now her biggest weakness in this whole metagame is Fox and Icy. So she has those 2 big weaknesses. But now the Sheik players are deciding to turn into Zelda to counteract Icy's, weirdly enough, or counterpick other characters. And they're getting way, way better against Foxes and Falcos by chain grabbing, having better reaction time, and optimizing their punish. So I think right above Puff, or right next to Puff, in whatever order you want to put him, is fair to me. And then you have Fox, Mr. Sword, and Bad Fox. So we'll start with Bad Fox. I'm always going to call Falco Bad Fox, because no matter which way, unless you're a god with lasers, unless you're a god with rushdown, and that really is what you are, the more time passes for Melee, the more I start to think that the most important thing Falco has is that he might have a winning matchup. He can dance with Fox and make Fox second guess himself, because he's like an inverse Fox. So he's a great tool against Fox to use if you know how to scrap. Okay? But when I look at almost any other matchup in the modern day, it's just Fox just, I don't know, man. Fox is broken. If you're going to put that much work into a character to make Falco truly work in the top level, knowing how fragile he is, knowing what a cannon he is, why not just play Fox? You know what I mean? He's much more gimpable than Fox. He has no flicker on his Firefox, shorter recovery, way higher jump, of course. Just when it comes down to the crunch, like the really important game-deciding moments where you need that last hit and then you need that last giant comeback, like Fox has those tools more often than Falco. However, these 3 characters are on the same tier because Marth is the second best character in the game at its current times, with pivot tippers and with the optimized flow chart of the chain grab and with the range and ways to confirm tippers on basically the entire cast and ways to mix up your recovery and the top 3 wave dash in the game and the best grab range by far in the game and the best arrow range in the game. And the fact that the game rewards you for spacing. The game rewards you for being far enough from your opponent to not get hit. It's like the opposite of what Risk should be. This character, to me, Marth is the one character that you can give like a toddler a controller and there's probably a chance to get a stock off you. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Marth players are bad, obviously. The best player in the world uses Marth. The strengths of this character are incredibly obvious. Just Tipper alone is just one of the scariest things that exists in all of Melee. The speed at which Tipper comes out with, the consistency, and the strength of it makes it. I think Tipper is easily a top 10 move in all of Melee. Marth forward smash in general. Not to mention his fairs, his combos, his ability to his dash back. Just completely every single character in the game has to respect it. I don't think we talk about his dash back. It's like one of the most broken things in all of Melee. Only character better than Marth is Fox McCloud. At this point, you've watched enough tier list videos to know why he's the best. It always doesn't bear repeating. The most beautiful part about Fox McCloud is that he is the perfect top tier for a metagame because he is the best character, but he's a character that the most characters in the game can punish the shit out of because he's a very fast faller. He is the true glass cannon, and if every single character in this game is played at task level, Fox would never lose, but he is the hardest to play at task level, which makes Melee a never-endingly fascinating game that will be pushed for many more years to come, and now we're in its 24th year. Best frame data, one-hit kill move off the stage, one of the best up smashes, one of the best projectiles, one of the best dashes, multiple recovery angles, and we decided to buff this character with controller discourse. That's a topic for another video, but essentially, Fox is buffed in 2025 continuously every time we add new controllers. But anyway, so yeah, press 1 if you enjoyed my tier list video, even if you don't fully agree with it. I've been doing this for a little while, so this is roughly where I'd put everyone. Long live Melee. Bye, YouTube.